Alrighty. Whew. Okay, that took a moment to set up. I needed to go run to take care of my recycling, and then snowing, and then kitty. Fun times. Fun times. Alrighty. Let's get this show on the road here. So, what is going on here? Oh, hey SDF. Oh, that's crazy. So, hello everyone. I am mar.kɪs. I am a iOS developer that works contract, but also does some indie development on the side for iOS, which includes apps and games. Currently, I'm working on a game called Indexing Your Heart for iOS, which is a hybrid witness-like puzzle game, as well as a part of a visual novel. But today we're doing things differently, right? To start off the year, we're going to be entering some unknown territory, and we're going to be taking a look at none other than, if I can pop it out of the case here, this thing. This thing is a Playdate. It is a console that has been made by the same company that publishes Firewatch, Untitled Goose Games, or Untitled Goose Game, and a couple of other titles, so Panic. They're also the creator of the editor that I've been using on a regular basis, which is Nova. And you'll notice that one of the unique features of this console is this little crank on the side, which actually is used as an input mechanism for quite a lot of games, whether it's scrolling back and forth through time or moving things up and down. It is a very unique element that adds a lot to this console. So today we're going to be starting a development series where we're going to be trying to take an existing game that I wrote a couple years ago and porting it over to the Playdate, just to have a little bit of fun, learn the SDK a little bit, see how things go along. So I guess without further ado, let's kind of dive into this here, because I've got a couple things planned for today. It won't be too big or anything like that, because we're just getting started, so we're going to kind of go through the setup phases and kind of learn how to get a project set up correctly. So, if I can switch this over here. There we go. Alrighty. Oh, I love the things in macOS Sonoma, but also there are some annoying bits to it. So, you're going to probably see me reference this little Figma document a lot. What this is an Agile discovery tree. And this is going to be a visual representation that shows kind of like the state of the project that we're in, as kind of like a high-level type of thing. Let me see if I can... Oh. Are you not going to let me show the chat window on the top? Well, that's mildly annoying. Thank you, OBS. Very cool. Okay. Weird. Alright. Now, as you can see, we don't have anything just yet, but just to kind of briefly go over it, we're going to be creating a tree, and we're going to be color-coding the items that we put in it based on what kind of status they're in. Right, so this is kind of like our parent or root, so it's going to be gray. All the ones that we have to do are going to be in yellow. Pink is going to be in progress, and green is going to be complete. Anything that's in light red is punted, so that means we'll either get to it later, or we're just deciding not to do it for some reason. So, there are a couple of things that I do want to get started with right off the bat. Let's make sure that this is yellow so as to not confuse ourselves. So first of all, we're going to be focusing mostly on project setup today. Alright. And then later down the line, we probably want to, like... Come on, Arc. What are you doing? And then we're going to probably create a prototype later. But that's still going to be a ways away, as far as I can tell. So we're going to currently be focusing on setting up the project here. Now, just to kind of briefly go over a few things, I've already set up some things ahead of time. So the first thing is going to be the source code for the project. The original game was open source under, I think it was the Mozilla public license. I'm not sure. I mean, I should know because I licensed the thing, but Right now it's blanking my mind. So the source code is up. I've yet to add a proper license to this as well, so I'm just probably going to yoink the license from the previous project into here. We could probably take care of that a little bit later, but we have the source code up here on GitLab, so it's very easy to see kind of like the current code base as it develops. And as you can also see in the README here, we're actually going to be writing this in C. So there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff going on. Likewise, we have this discovery tree here, which I'll be referencing from time to time. I also have my reference material here. Since this was a game that I already created, we're just porting it now. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be porting the whole engine over, just more or less rewriting the game to get it to run on the Playdate. So at least we can reference that as well as its existing source code here. And then I also have links to the documentation in my little sidebar here. Now, the reason why I point this out is because we don't need to worry about setting up a Git repository or git ignore. That part's already done. So I can at least note that down here. Set up a Git repo, as well as create a git ignore. Right, so these things are already done, which is good. So some other things that I think we should take a look at just to get started is add a hello world template. Should probably put this in yellow here, and then we're just going to take this, move you down, because this is going to get quite lengthy. There we go. Add a hello world template. That's going to be an important one, as well as setting up our makefile, which will be used to help actually compile the project using the Playdate compiler and all that. Sorry, my friend's cat is going at one of the little string support beams right now. Goober. Okay. Hello world template. Set up our make file. It's also going to be another important thing here. I guess we could also prepare the information. And then probably as well as setting up the directory layout. I think that would also be important. That way, when we need to add things to the git ignore, it'll be relatively easy to do so. So we'll just link all this material here. Drag you over. To be more specific, PDX info. This is a file that basically contains information about the game, such as like who authored it, the version, the title of the game, so on and so forth. So at least having that set up will make things a little bit easier for us. Okay, hold on a second. My friend's kitty is being a little angsty right now. Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. Did not realize that the kitty would start to get angsty. I thought by putting him over on the perch, he would just take a nap. Turns out, no. So I've had to move him out of the room. Unfortunately, it is what it is. Where were we? Right. Briefly mentioning some of the things that we'd want to cover here. So I guess without further ado then, we can hop into the current code base structure. For anyone wondering, I am using Panic's Nova editor. I actually had been using Nova prior to finding out about the Playdate. And this has been a pretty good alternative to something like VS Code. I tend to use this alongside Xcode because latest releases have been a little bit iffy, to say the very least. So it's good having another editor on the side to help take care of those sorts of things. So right now, all we have is just our gitignore file, which I had created using this tool that another iOS developer, John Reed, pointed me to. You know, it would be helpful if I did not include the whole thing. Developers gitignore. So here, you're able to just specify specific parts in which you want to generate a gitignore for. So I just did one where it was, I think I just did CMake like this. And then boom, it includes information that you want there. And what's nice is that you can actually just take the link, paste this in, and then be able to update the gitignore as needed. So I figured that would be a good way to get this project started. So I got one set up that includes gitignore information for both C and CMake, just to make things easier for me, so I don't have to go finding out which files I need to exclude. We can probably edit this more as time goes on. We also have a README here, which I just quickly threw up together just to have something besides the default GitLab one, which basically just contains the premise of the game as well as what this game exactly is. Then we also have this itch cover thing, which is mostly just used for me, since in Nova you can set custom icons on your project folders, so that way when you go to your project navigator, it actually shows up there. Now, with all that said, I have played a wee bit with the SDK, but not enough to necessarily know how to do everything. So that's what we're going to be spending some time doing today. We're going to be setting this up to at least get something running. So what we can at least start with is by looking at the Hello World project that they have created, which I also do have a folder for as well here. So you can see that they have quite a couple of files already set up. First is the make file, which grabs all the information we need. I think what we can probably do, I think what we can probably do is just yoink this, change some information around, and then we should be good to go. We may need to edit this as time goes on, but I don't think this should be too bad. So we could probably do that, right? New file, make file. Oh, what happened? A new item with makefile already exists. What are you doing? Okay, well that's a first. The file has disappeared. Surely makefile itself is... Oh, that's why makefile is just straight up being ignored. That's not what we want. First edit of the day. Show ignored files. Yeah, okay. What do we do? We need to go to Git to then tell it, yeah, we want to add these changes. Okay, there we go. Parser.parse is not a... I don't know why we're trying to run prettier on here, but prettier is not going to do anything helpful for us. So let's see if I can figure out how to get this disabled on here. Format when documents saved. Yes. And that should do the trick. Okay, now it's not trying to run the formatter while we're trying to edit things. Is that the Agile decision tree? Yes, it is. We're bringing the discovery trees back. And also thank you for reminding me about that because I forgot to mark this as in progress. Oops. Happens. Alrighty. So we probably want to change the product name here. So we're going to change this over to package resolved.pdx. That should be good. Right, because that will be the file that we load into the Playdate simulator and or a physical device when we decide to sideload it. Yeah, so we seem to be off to a good start. So, do we need to also copy the CMake lists? Yeah, we probably need to do that too, since this is also using CMake and not just make. CMake list.text. Whoop. Now, let's see. What do we need to change? Because I did see some references. Set make configuration types. Xcode generate scheme. Playdate game name. That's what we want. Package resolved. I'm just going to go over here as well to do this. And that should be good to go. Okay. So that's that. In our source, we probably also need to copy over the... I don't think we need the elf binary nor the dilib because I think that's automatically generated when we run the project. So I don't think that's necessary. Of course, now Nova's freaking out because I accidentally opened the elf file. Don't be me. Let me look at the chat in the meantime, since I'm waiting for Nova to do its thing. Something about being productive and streaming makes cats so needy. My friend's cat's just very angsty, demands attention and cuddles every morning. That's just how it is. Now, normally if I put him over the perch, he's fine because he'll eventually sit down, but this morning he's just, I don't know. Mine's trying to put cables and climb onto the desk. Strange one. See, I even have the little... I guess I'll have to switch my view here real quick, but let me do that. I always keep going to the wrong menu. See, I have this open for him, and he does crawl in there and take naps in it, but he didn't want to do that either. He's very insistent on being active right now. Not particularly helpful. Yeah, okay. Okay, I think this is actually frozen. We have to restart Nova. Oh, that's particularly great. Okay, so note to self, do not do that. Oh, we already have package resolved over here as well. That's fine. So we just also need to create a source folder that also contains the PDX info, which we can just copy. Looks like a simple INI file or something. There we go. And we can just change a couple things around in here as well. Package resolved. I'm going to change the name to my name. Description. A small game about collecting packages. Set our bundle ID here. PD package resolved. Now there's also this image path thing, and I think this is for the cover. Since on the Playdate you can have a specific cover to them. Actually, I can actually show that right now just so you all get an idea here. See, that's also a nice thing about this. So let's zoom you in. So you can see that each of these games actually has a specific cover on them, which is really nice since you can identify them this way. Apparently newer Playdate updates have actually added this list option where you can see everything as just a simple list like this, which is probably very helpful if you have like tons of games and you don't want to be constantly scrolling, but I personally for now just like looking at the cards. So I'm guessing image path is referring to this card that shows up when you start the Playdate. Disconnect you for now. Okay. So I think the only thing that's left is to just write some C code in our main.c file and get something running. Then it looks like, which I think that is fairly doable. So all we need to do then is just create another source file. Wow. And then we just create our main.c right in here. Now I'll try to follow what's here, but I won't necessarily just yoink everything. Because there may be some things that I want to change before we actually get something up and running here. So it looks like for the most part, you know what, let's just, I need my splits. There we go, that makes my life easier. So I guess we'll first start by, so it looks like we're importing, okay, so that first one, or that last one on line 12 there looks very important because that's going to be where the API lives. And then the others look like they're just standard C libraries. So we need to import standard IO and standard lib. Fair. Okay, so it looks like we do also have some other information in here. Static int update. Okay, so this is a function prototype. Which I guess is to predefine our update function before we actually define what we're doing with it. And then we're creating a string to the default system font that's available. That one I'm just going to copy and paste there because it looks a little long. And then LCD font, which I presume is the actual font object, and we're just setting it to null for now until we can actually get that initialized. I put a colon there. Got it. Okay. So this is just some font setup. It looks like. If def when DLL. I may need to do that even though I'm not on Windows for those that want to compile for it. Okay, so now here's where we start to get into some interesting parts. Right, because this is the event handler. So we have our Playdate API object, PD system event uint 32targ. Okay, so that looks like our, I'm not sure what arg here is. For now I'm just gonna, yes, preview, very helpful. Well, we know that this is going to be something that returns an integer, so we'll return 0 for now. Let's see what I can find out about our event handler here, because that looks interesting. Oh, we can also mark this as done. And we're on, what, you, and then, okay, that's fine. C API, event handler. Ah, here it is. Should implement the function. Okay, I see. When your event handler is called, Playdate will contain a pointer to the Playdate struct, okay, which is the game's interface back to the Playdate runtime. Okay, so this is where we start to actually access the Playdate information. After loading that into memory, system calls event handler with events set to the init. If your game is implemented entirely in C, you can supply your own run loop by calling set callback. Okay, that's probably what we're going to want to do. Ah, okay, so that's why we have this set up. Got it. That makes sense. So we probably want to do that as well. Event is k event init. Right, okay, so I see what we're doing here. Const char star error. So we're getting an error string back. Got it. And then we're going to set the font that we created earlier to load font at the font path. Okay. Right, so this is going to be where we actually initialize and load that font in. And then we're just going to do a quick safety check. If font is null, then that means we messed up somewhere. PD system, and it looks like this is how you report an error. Fail to load system font. Where does the error come in? Oh, because we're attaching it here. Right, okay. So we're going to want to pass that in. Okay, great. So now we just need to call our own update callback, which in here is just static int with user data. Okay, that's fine. Int update with a function pointer, or at least void star. I don't know if that's actually supposed to be a function pointer. Okay. And I think for now, we'll just have it return 1 since that's what it does here. I'm guessing, what does return 1 actually mean in this case? Callback function replaces the default Lua run loop. The function should return a non-zero number to tell the system to update the display, or 0 if the update isn't needed. Okay, we are getting somewhere now. That makes sense. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. We're getting somewhere. We are getting somewhere. Always update the display. So that's what that does. Now you can see that I had been playing around with this somewhat. So I suppose that we actually don't need to do much other than just call this, right? Because that's all that we need to do. So I guess let's just say int drawn is bool drawn is false. Or okay, we'll think about that later. Actually, you know what? If drawn return 0, and then we can keep going. So then we just need to get our Playdate object again. It is the user data. User data here is returning our Playdate struct. That makes sense. Okay. So all we need to do then is, I guess, we just set some arbitrary values in here, right? And just draw a hello world. PD graphics draw text. So we pass in the text object itself, hello world. And then we just need to get the length of that. What is the encoding for? To the docs. Draw text. PD string encoding. If no font has been set, okay. Right, okay. So I guess this maybe just to specify the encoding of the text. Maybe. Interesting. And then I guess we'll see if those values actually work. And then they have some extra stuff in here to just move it around. But I think, nah, I don't think we need to draw the frames per second here, because I think that's just for the case of, oh, you know what, we still need to do that. So let's do that too. Graphics, clear, K, color, white, PD, graphics, set font, font. Okay. Reading the docs, though, I probably didn't need to do that because it would have just loaded the default one anyway, but figured we'd do that just in case. And then we're going to set drawn here to true, and then return 1. And I think that does it. Only one way to find out, and that's to run it, so. Let me check the chat real quick. See what's going on. Gotta teach him how to update the Agile tree for you. I can't even get him to QA, man. I can't even get him to QA. He'll just look at whatever code I throw at him. He's like, yeah, that looks fine. No questions asked. Clearly not a very good engineer. Okay, so what we're going to do then is, since we're using Nova, and I have the extension installed, we'll just create our simulator here. So then we'll just game simulator, and we're just going to run make onto you. Make sure we set this, because we have a space in the project name, and I imagine that it's going to freak out if we don't do that. So let's actually test to see whether we can actually get this to do something. Uh-oh. What is wrong? False is undeclared. Really? Did I forget how to Boolean? C Booleans. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, helpful if I import the Boolean library to use the bool. Package resolve cannot be loaded. Couldn't find PDZ file. Oh no. Oh no. Did something get messed up in here? Debug, release, Playdate game name, package resolved. Was there something in the make file that I forgot to do? src main.c. Build support. Okay, what does the report actually tell me here? pdex dilib. Interesting. Yeah, so you made the dilib. You made the elf file. So why did it not make a main.pdz? Oh dear. Okay. Let's take a look. Maybe I forgot to add a part of the configuration to it. Well, I mean, we just straight up copied that. We just straight up copied this one. PDX info. Well, no, there's no main.pdz in here either. So, what does that have to do with anything? How peculiar. How peculiar. Game package result. Couldn't find PDZ file main.pdz. Show in Finder. This is an unsupported format. Oh, well, that's very helpful. I wonder, if we go here. No? Okay. I thought maybe we'd have some sort of idea if we were to look at the hidden files, but it seems like there are no hidden files to begin with that would be relevant. So if not exists, okay, is there some sort of extension for CMake? Because not having the syntax highlighting on that's throwing me off a little. Okay, problem solved. Package resolved device. CMake standard. But I mean, it's successfully compiled though, no? CMake C standard 11. Okay, well that's a thing we can try, I guess. Int drawn is 0. Drawn is 1. If drawn is 1. Or, well, maybe. No. Okay, well, at least we removed the Boolean part of that, but, Oh! Oops! Yeah, if we want to add an update function, we need to call the update. Oh my goodness, how did we manage to miss that? PD system set update callback. Name update, and then pass in the PD object. Build succeeded. Let's go. Let's go. We got ourselves a hello world. It's all because I forgot to set the update callback. Oh my god. Oops. Okay, so at least that means the project structure that we have set up actually does work. So that's good. Mark update loop. Okay, that's a very good sign. Very good sign. Okay. Whew. We almost avoided a problem there. So it looks like I also need to add this PDX to the git ignore because that's technically a build file. Playdate. .pdx. Okay, well that's good. Are there any other files that we need to? No, this looks like we may need to also exclude build. That looks good. Okay, there we go. Great. So that's a good sign. So let's fire it off. Actually, why am I doing that? Ta-da. Create hello world sample. Oh, I forgot to add the make file to the thing. Oops. Amend. Okay. Alrighty, that is great. Prior to this, as I had mentioned before, like I played around with it, but I didn't actually sit down, write the source code, and actually look through what it was saying. So that was the first time that we actually did that, which is great because I'm starting to get a better understanding of how things are working. So it seems to me that my understanding is that this kind of works a little bit like SpriteKit, where after our init, right, we're running this update callback, which is running on every frame. So this probably means that we have to be very careful about what we want running in the update loop. I mean, granted, everything's probably going to be running in the update loop, but we've got to be a bit more careful about it so as to not floor the memory or anything. But yeah, this is looking good so far. Despite the fact that I've forgotten how to bool, apparently, this is good. This is promising. So I think we can mark this one up as done. And since we already had to kind of migrate or kind of more or less copy the structure that they have here, I don't think we need to worry about this part either, right? So we can mark that as all done, which means the project setup is done. Woo! I would have expected it to take a little bit longer, but only because of the fact that I was anticipating more shenanigans. But I guess both panic have made this really easy, and the fact that this is just a simple C project means that I don't have much to worry about. It's not like the issue that we're running into on the Swift UI side where we have to like create an Xcode project and then tweak all these things and then like add some daemon to kill off straight processes and all this. This was just a matter of just getting it set up, running with it. So that's very good. Now, I imagine that over time we will probably need to tweak this makefile over time, because right now it only looks at the main file. And I imagine if we want to be a bit more specific, we're going to need to keep updating this list with more of the information. More of the information that we need to add, so that way it can compile those and add them into the binary. But this is great. We managed to get this done 15 minutes early. That's crazy. So I guess then what we'll probably do is we'll probably plan out some of the things that we want to do for this prototype. Before we do that, though, I might as well kind of show like a small demo of like how this game actually functions, so you all get a better picture of what it is we're doing. Now, Mark, what are you doing? Arc being Arc, I guess. Okay, we're going to turn off music and sound effects here, but so you can see here that I'm only just pressing 2 keys to move left and right. We're always moving down no matter what. The main goal is to kind of collect all these boxes. Now, what I'm thinking is, in terms of the movement, I'm thinking about, and let me switch my mode over to the large camera here. I'm thinking that we can utilize our crank here as a means to move left and right. I think that would be rather fun instead of having to press these buttons on the actual console itself to do that. So we'll definitely need to look more into the APIs for the crank, just to kind of better understand how we can translate this into the movement that we need. Likewise, some other things that we will need to consider is like how to actually spawn items, how to draw sprites and get them onto the screen and get them moving around correctly. All these other sorts of fun things. That being said, we should probably take a look at some of the things that we'll need to do for that. Also, can I? Thank you. We're just going to quit Nova for now, because we're not going to need it for the rest of the stream here. Check the chat here to see if anything has popped up. No, nothing so far. Okay. Fine by me. So the first thing that we need to figure out, I guess, is that movement, right? So reading the crank, read the crank's rotation angle. That'll be a good one. Well, I guess we could also probably put this under the general category of basic movement. And then we also need to translate rotation angle to a movement vector of some kind. And then just move something according to the crank. That's going to be a very big, important first step here. Oh, Otherwise, we're not going to have a game. Drawing, sprites, and images. So with this one, we're going to need to draw a basic image, as well as use a sprite sheet to draw animated images. That's also going to be another one. And then move, redraw according. Did I spell that right? No. To movement. And I think that could pretty much be the basis of our prototype stuff, because everything else after this is just going to be like feature things, like adding obstacles, taking care of high scores, adding a timer, things like that. But the important thing here that I think we should consider at least is taking care of there we go. Is at least taking care of the fundamentals here, which is getting things to move and rendering that change onto the screen. Because that's pretty much going to be the fundamentals for like almost anything here, right? Because that will also be important for, say, needing to scroll the screen up and down. Since you're constantly moving down, things are going to be redrawn all the time. So that's going to be an important thing to figure out as well. As you also probably saw, like some of the boxes and whatnot, they do actually move up and down, so they're like kind of hovering. So we definitely want that behavior to be recreated as well. Oh, I didn't realize that I was still in the large mode. Whoops. So, like, we probably want to establish these fundamentals before we actually take care of anything else, such as like the features, reading level configurations, and all of that. Once we can get this down, everything else should be more or less just a reiteration or a rehashing of this. And we should be able to come up with something for it. So that's the direction that we're probably going to be heading next. So just to recap, a high-level overview here. We managed to get our project set up. Whoopee. And the next thing we're going to be looking at is creating a prototype, in which we want to tackle basic movement, drawing sprites and images. So we got 5 minutes left before the stream's supposed to end. I guess we could take this opportunity to, let me switch this back again, to kind of address some comments or questions. So if you folks have any comments or questions you want to throw out right now, now would be a good time. Oh, I didn't realize the ASDF left. Apparently I don't know what I'm doing with OBS. There we go. There we are. Okay. Okay, I'm not really seeing anything, so that's fine. So I think we could probably call it here. I guess we could probably make this more of a weekly occurrence. Same time for an hour. And just kind of keep going at it with this game. So I guess with that in mind, thanks for everyone that's joined today. Be sure to follow along for any future updates. If you're in the Playdate Squad Discord server, I also am going to be posting regular updates. Oh, do I need to read? I keep messing around with this. So I do have an official package resolved thread here in the development log, so feel free to follow along to that. And I guess I will see you folks next time. Take care.